Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first ever Driven Hunter podcast presented by Mission Crossbows. This week, we are joined by our good friends Brian Robison from the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to be talking a lot about Vikings football. We're going to be talking a lot about getting started into bow hunting and a little bit about fishing. And I know you have a foundation. We're going to be talking about that as well, but we got a lot of things to cover this week. This is cool because I have never done a podcast before. You've done a lot of them, so I'm going to be leaning on you to help carry this thing, but we're going to have a lot of fun. We got tons of stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking a little bit about your past history and stuff, but we're just excited to have you. We're going to talk a little bit about this last year when Brian came down and started his bow hunting career right here at the Driven headquarters. Might even show you a little of that footage, but the thing about our podcast is we're going to do one a month throughout the entire year, and we're going to do them here on location in our studio, and then we're going to do some in more remote locations, which is going to be kind of a cool aspect that a lot of people don't do. We're going to take all our recording equipment, our video equipment out, and say we're in Alaska. We're going to maybe pick the brain of an authentic, guide up there, talk about different things, but we're just going to have a lot of fun doing this podcast and, hopefully learn a few things along the way. So welcome, and let's get started, huh?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about how we met to kind of get this thing started. You are obviously been playing for the Vikings, and we'll kind of go through your history here in a minute, but how did we even meet?
Well, we actually got hooked up through my foundation. We brought my foundation down here to Wabasha last year for the first time. It was a very successful event, but we actually got hooked up through some mutual friends. I had, a buddy, Chad Springer, who's down there at the city of Wabasha, and kind of passed me your number and everything. We kind of started talking a little bit, and you donated some stuff to the foundation last year, you and Nicole. And what was cool about it was, last year was really when we first got to know each other. And I kind of picked up the phone. I said, you know what, I got to get back into this hunting deal. I used to do it all the time when I was younger, but I was like, I got to go hunting. So I shot Pat a text, and pretty much the rest is history, man. We came down here a couple of trips. Didn't get no meat in the freezer, but
we came close.
It was Pat's fault. But we did come close. But yeah, that's kind of how we met, and just kind of had a good friendship since.
That's right. He hasn't invited me fishing yet. He's got his boat hooked up to a truck right now.
Yeah,
out there.
it's out there.
He knows all the hot spots. You know what? I'm into hunting. I like fishing too, but if I had to make my living fishing, boy, that'd be tough. I'd probably starve to death in a quick hurry.
Well, I feel the same way about hunting. I can go fish for days, but if it comes to hunting, I'm probably screwed.
Yeah, well, we'll get a chance. We're going to get on the water here yet this summer. That's a goal. And we're also going to get you back here this year, and we're going to go after a big Minnesota whitetail.
Absolutely.
That's my goal, is to get Brian on a big buck this year. So y'all have to stay tuned for that, because I think he's going to have some success. We're trying to get this thing dialed in, and he's getting really good with that new bow. So we're getting pretty pumped up. There's a lot of stuff in front of us. We're going to have one heck of a fun year, and that's what it's about, just getting out there and having fun. That's what we talked about when we're sitting out there, even though it was sub-zero.
Yeah,
we're sitting in that muddy bull blind, and we had a heater there, but
it didn't matter. The heater wasn't keeping working. You that warm.
I know, but we're still having fun. The night just flew by, and you just had such a busy schedule. You were just kind of coming on one day off.
Yep.
That's how dedicated he was to bow hunting. Is he only had one day off, and as soon as he had that day off, he was busting it down here a couple hours south to get in the stand and hunt for the evening. And we came close. So
yeah, we did come close, and it was kind of like we were discussing in the blind that day. Thing I loved about when I used to hunt younger with my dad was the memories that were made from that, and being in that blind, and even though we didn't get a deer, but just seeing the deer come out and just kind of having the conversations we had, and just getting back into it, getting back into hunting again, and actually being my first bow hunt, which was pretty cool for me. But it was just one of those deals that's a memory that I won't forget.
Yeah, hey, that you just said it right there. Is getting back into it. Your dad got you started, didn't he? And then hunting,
Yep.
Just like me, and. it brings back a lot of those memories. When you get out there, you're like, now, I remember this, and this is why I like going out there and freezing your butt off, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's funny the things that we do. I mean, even with me fishing, I've put waders on and gone up to, Monticello, Minnesota, and waded out in the river when it was 12 degrees outside. The things we do as outdoorsmen, most people wouldn't even want to do. They wouldn't even think of doing it. And, they probably wouldn't even wish that on their worst enemy, but
Yep.
but for us, I mean, that's what we do. That's what we live for. I mean, those are the memories that are made when we go out in those sub-zero temperatures. Yeah, it's cold, but at the end of the day, we know that the reward is very rewarding. And, it's just one of those deals that you'll never forget that 20 years down the road. You'll tell your kids about that. You'll tell your family about that, or whoever you shared that with. You'll always have that bond going forward.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important too. I mean, the aspect of just making those memories. It's a time spent out there, whether you get something or not. I actually, some of my most fondest memories and hunts that I will never forget are ones that I fell short on, or had a miss or whatever, and I didn't bring home something that kept me wanting to go back.
Absolutely.
Sheep hunting is. I mean, that is one of the toughest things I've ever done. Every time I go do it, I say, I'm never coming back here again. Why would I put myself through this? I'm a middle-aged, out-of-shape guy that has no business being on the mountain. And then I'm up there, trying to climb with these gazelles that, run around the mountains, and they're totally in shape. And here I'm, dying. But at the end of the hunt, I look back and I'm like, man, this was so worth it to just, it gives you that sense of satisfaction. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this because of the work ethic and stuff that goes into football. Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day, you go to bed, you're beat, but yet you can't wait. And the next day you wake up and you do it all over again, and you get home and you miss it. And we can talk more about that, but I mean, I get it. And that's what hunting does. A lot of people don't understand that are non-hunters.
Right.
But those hunters that love hunting genuinely, they can understand what we're talking about.
Right. And I get it. Absolutely. Because the same thing with fishing. I mean, you talk about it with hunting, and everybody knows I'm a big fisherman, but it's the same thing. There's some days we go out there, it's raining, it's, 30 degrees, and people are like, why do you even want to do that? Well, either you understand or you don't. And, for people that live in the outdoors, we get it. And,
right.
We're here. We're eye to eye on that. But, a lot of people that don't do it, they're just like, why would you even want to do that? Well, I guess they just won't understand.
Well, speaking of, talking about the past and stuff, one of the first things I'm sure a lot of people want to hear about is just a little bit about football, because we got a lot to talk about. Tell us a little bit about how you got started. And a lot of people ask me, how did you get started in hunting? Obviously, I'm interested in how you got started into football and it led to a professional career. And of course, you've had one of the longest careers of anybody with the Vikings. You're probably one of the oldest players with the Vikings. I don't know if I should say that. I don't even think I should tell you Brian's age.
You know what? That's a compliment. That's a compliment. I take it that way.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, I got started at a very young age. I grew up in Splendora, Texas, which is a very small town, and pretty much the only thing to do in Splendora was either play football or, I don't know, nothing else really. I mean, it was play football, or we didn't really have much. It was, one light in town. You had, I mean, it's kind of like a
little
lot
light
here,
Plainview.
Yeah, I mean, it's about like that. But man, I started at 4 years old. I started playing full padded football down in Texas, and everything else from then on was it was all about football. I mean, growing up, I played Little League all the way through junior high football, high school football, went on to the University of Texas, and then got drafted by the Minnesota Vikings in 2007. So for me, it was always about football. It was one of those deals that my dad sacrificed a lot to give me the things that I needed to do to be successful at it. And my dad told me from a young age, if you ask me to help you work, he goes, I'm going to push you to the limit. And he said, but if at any point you don't want to be doing that, or you're not loving it or whatever. He goes, when the season's over, you can do what you want to do. Well, I would always ask my dad, hey, I want to be great this year. Like, let's go work. And my dad would push me to the limit. And there'd be times that I wanted to quit, and he wouldn't let me quit. And by the time it was all over with, it's kind of like we were talking about hunting in cold weather, and it was all worth it. I mean, at the end of the day, I credit my dad with a lot of the stuff that I was able to do with my professional career, because if I wouldn't have had that work ethic and I wouldn't have had somebody to help push me when I was ready to quit and I was ready to just kind of shut it down, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So definitely that for him. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started playing football. Just very young age, Splendora High School on Tram Road, Little League football field.
Well, I read somewhere that back in the day, you bench pressed over 470 pounds. Is that true?
That is true.
My God, man. I know who's dragging out a deer next time we shoot something.
Right. Yeah, actually, when I was in college actually doing track, I'd go over to trackside, and dude, I just got so strong over there doing the track workouts and things like that. And at one point I was benching pretty close to about 500 pounds. It was nuts. Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, even for me, I was a guy that was, 265, 270, but was throwing the shot put with, monsters, monster guys, and throwing it almost 70 feet. So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
They said he was a world-class shot putter and discus thrower is what I read. So I did a little back research on you, and of course we can also talk a little bit. I like what you said about your dad, instilling good values in you, teaching you that hard work and dedication is the key to success, Absolutely. Never to give up type of thing. We try to instill that same thing in our kids, and we'll talk a little bit about that here coming up as we go on about that kind of aspect, teaching your kid and getting your kid started into hunting, because we have 5 kids, and we've pretty much got them all except Cashin started into hunting. So, and I know you got 2 younger kids that are coming up, so we can't wait to get them up here in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Get them, started, maybe shoot their first deer up here as well. So anyways, tell us a little bit about your family. Yeah, I know that you're married and to a wonderful lady.
Yeah,
we've met her.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, both you and I over-punted our coverage.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt
no
about
pun
it.
intended.
I don't know. My wife has bad eyesight, so I probably met her as she had her contacts out, and I got lucky.
Hold on just a second. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, still ugly. No, I've got a beautiful wife, man. Love her to death. Her name's Jamie, and then we got 2 kids. My daughter, 6-year-old daughter, Madeline, and my 3-year-old son, who's about to turn 4 actually in July, Parker. And you want to talk about a kid that is ate up with the outdoors? Parker. I mean, he is. Oh, dude, he is all about fishing right now. I mean, he wants to fish from sun up to sundown, and if you take him on the boat, he won't let you leave until it's dark and we can't see anymore. I mean, he is that type of guy. He actually went to the hospital the other day. I don't know who gave him this, and if whoever it wasn't very smart. They gave him a crankbait.
Yeah.
And he decides he's going to go out and he's going to start, throwing the crankbait around, and he gets in the yard and he actually practices. He practices flipping. He does all this stuff, right? Well, he actually gets a hook in his finger, and they had to take him to the doctor and actually get the hook cut out. Well, you would think a 3-year-old normally do that. I'm staying away from that stuff. No, he went straight home and grabbed another rod and just started practicing in the yard. So I don't know if it's that he's not that smart or if he's just fully dedicated. I'm going to go with the fully dedicated, but and it's funny we're actually talking about, he actually has started asking me a lot of questions about hunting.
Really?
Yeah, he actually saw one of y'all's shows last year, actually when we got home in probably February. He got home, and it was one of y'all's bear hunts. And he saw the bear get killed on, the TV and everything like that. And he starts asking these questions. He's like, do you hunt bear? And I'm like, well, I've never hunted a bear before. I said, but I might do it one day, He goes, well, can I hunt a bear with you? And I'm like, absolutely. If that's what you want to do, we'll go hunt bear with you. And So he starts asking me all these questions. He goes, so do we just kill animals? And I'm like, well, we don't just kill animals. I had to explain to him that if you go and you shoot a deer, you shoot a bear, whatever, you take it home and you eat it. Like, that's what you do. You don't shoot animals just to shoot them. You take them home, you eat them. It's for food.
Got to have a purpose.
It's got to have a purpose, exactly. And now he is all about that. I mean, he is just, everything we do, he's like, if he catches a fish, he's like, do I have to eat it? And I'm like, no, we can throw that one back. And I'm like, if we keep it, we have to eat it. So now he wants to throw everything back unless it's a fish. He might, every once in a while he grabs a fish, he's like, can we eat it? And I'm like, well, we'll just throw it back. But he's all about that right now, man. The outdoor life for him is, I think it's going to take us to a lot of cool places.
I think that Parker and I could become good fishing buddies because I'm a catch and fry type of guy. I mean, I like catching fish and eating them. But him and Cashin, I think, are going to grow up buddies because Cashin just turned 3. He is all about the outdoors. I mean, as soon as he wakes up, man, he wants outside, and he wants to be riding on that four-wheeler. He wants to be just doing something outside. So I think they'll become buddies. We need to get them hooked up with some young Mission bows and get them shooting. Speaking of Mission is sponsoring this segment. I just got a new Mission crossbow, and I'm excited about shooting it. My daughter just took it on her first bear hunt. So anyways, Mission is a great way to get those kids started, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I understand that your wife, Jamie, who I met and got to know a little bit, she has a professional career in horses and barrel racing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. You bring a professional football player on here to say that his wife is actually the better athlete in the family. Yeah, she's a professional barrel racer. She's been doing it for a long time. I think she's been riding horses since she was like 3. But yeah, she goes on the road. Actually, as we're talking right now, she's in Oklahoma, riding, and she's going to actually come up here next week, come do the foundation event, and then she's flying back to Texas to get ready to go on the road for 2 months. So she'll be in Wyoming, Colorado, California, I mean, all that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so she does that, and then she also runs her own horse breeding business. She has Miller Robison Performance horses, and she basically has a French Street to Vegas, and we sell breedings for her all year long.
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, when I met her and we had time to chat, she started flipping through her phone and showing me all these photos. She goes, yeah, this is a new truck that I got. And this wasn't just a truck. I mean, this thing is a semi, with a sleeper and everything attached. And then she hauls this big trailer with all the horse equipment and horses in there. And she's driving this thing across the country by herself. That is impressive. I'm like, wow.
She's a boss. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
I know who wears the pants in the family.
No doubt about it. I mean, I don't even think, you see I'm wearing shorts. I don't have any pants. So, but yeah, she like you said, she drives a Freightliner sports chassis. She's got it hooked up to a big Bloomer trailer. I mean, she is.
Can she bench more than you? Can she?
I don't think she can bench more than me, but
she's got
based on if she pulls up in the truck and I pull up in my truck, and I've got a big truck.
Right.
But if we pull up in both of our trucks, then most people are going to think she definitely benches more than me.
She dominates you in the truck department.
Yeah, I just say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
She's a sweetheart, though. You definitely got a good one there. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned a little bit about your foundation and fishing, and that's kind of how, again, we got to know each other by donating to your event. Tell us a little bit about the Reel 'Em In Foundation and how it got started and what it's all about.
Well, the way we got started was about 3 years ago. We decided, Jamie and I, decided that we wanted to do something to where we could help our communities, to where we could actually reach out and have a positive impact on the communities that we live in, both Minnesota and Texas. And so kind of doing this deal, we're trying to combine my love of fishing with football and finding, some sort of charity that we wanted to put our money towards. And that's really where we came up with the name, the Reel 'Em In Foundation. And so once we started that, then it became an issue of, okay, what do we want our cause to go to? And we met with a bunch of worthy charities. I mean, we met with the Shriners. We talked with St. Jude's, Starkey Hearing Foundation. We talked to quite a few of them. And my wife had actually done a barrel race down in Texas called Diamonds and Dirt. And she had seen a dog demonstration with the canines, the police canines there. And she came back to me and she said, I really think we should talk about this. Like, it was really cool. I wish you could have been there to see it. She said, but we should talk to them about it and just see if that's something we'd like to do. Well, we ended up finding an avenue to get a hold of Christy Schiller, who was the founder of Canines for Cops. And when we talked to her, I actually was at a preseason game against the Tennessee Titans, and I had a conference call with them the day before. We had just landed, I pulled in my hotel room, and then we got on the phone with them. We had a 45-minute conversation with them, and within the first 15 minutes, I had already told them, you guys are the charity that we're gonna donate towards. And it was just a good fit. My dad was a police officer for 29 years in the Houston Police Department. My brother-in-law is a firefighter in the Houston. So for us, it was just a good fit. We have kind of a soft spot for our first responders, cops, firemen, EMTs, things like that. And so for us to be able to do this and be able to give back to our communities, it affects more than just a few people. I mean, you're when you get the Canines for Cops, you're affecting not only on a community level, but you're affecting statewide level, nationwide level. And that was what was important to us, is be able to give back to as many people as we possibly could. So basically, when we put this together, we decided we're going to do a fishing tournament. And, well, what makes a fishing tournament different? Well, that's when we decided, it'd be really cool to bring in some celebrities, some professional athletes, country singers, just all across the board. Any VIP or celebrity that we could bring in, we pair them with a professional fisherman. We auction those guys off, and whoever wins that auction gets to fish with them the next day. And then, of course, have our open tournament. And I mean, since we started this,
I notice you haven't asked me to be part of the professional fishermen.
Well, you're always off shooting deer and hunting bear, and you're talking about these sheep. I've only seen one sheep. I mean, you've had like 40 hunts.
What I was getting at is that my fishing abilities just aren't quite up to the professional status yet. Well, I'm getting there.
We can put you with a professional, but then I got to thinking, well, Pat might need help by two professionals. So,
all right, sorry for interrupting.
But no, since we started this, we've definitely grown. The first year we did it down in Texas, we basically had brought in a bunch of guides from Lake Fork, where we had it down in Texas. We paired them with some teammates that I had from the University of Texas and a couple of guys that played with me here in Minnesota, and that's really all we had. And then as we've grown, we've started bringing in guys from the FLW Tour, guys from the Bassmaster Elites, and pairing them with, guys up here. We do a lot of the current and former Minnesota Vikings. I mean, last year we had guys like Carl Lee and Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin. Chris Goldman was there. I mean, last year. I mean,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. And then this year, we've got guys like Randy Moss coming. I mean,
really?
Yeah, Randy Moss is coming down here. I mean, so it's just.
I didn't even know he fished.
Yeah, he loves fishing, dude. He's all about fishing. But, last year we raised, my first year we raised right around $27,000.
Wow.
Last year we raised $110,000. This year we raised $100,000 after expenses just in our Texas tournament. We haven't even had our Minnesota tournament. So the way this thing has grown, obviously, we have just been ecstatic about the way it's grown, how many dogs we've been able to get back. We've given dogs back here in Goodhue County. We've given dogs back in Texas, St. Paul. I mean, just all over. I mean, it's just been mind-blowing the way we've been able to help, and just the feedback we've gotten from people, and how much people have supported this cause. I mean, this year we put our tickets on sale Sunday, and they sold out in 42 minutes. I mean, 42 minutes sold out a 200-seat auction night dinner.
That's insane.
I mean, so we've just been blown away, and we just can't be any happier about the way people have supported this cause.
Well, and that's how we kind of got involved. I mean, just the local buzz, Of course, we didn't know each other really, and somehow got connected. And I'm like, man, this is going on. It's for a great cause. we need to try to get behind it and support it. And of course, that's how we got connected. We donated to your event, and of course, we can't wait for this year. How do people find out more about the Reel 'Em In Foundation if they want to help support it and maybe possibly come to one of the events down the road?
Yeah, well, I'm posting stuff all the time on my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And then they can also go to my website, which is brianrobison96.com. And there's a little tab up in the top, and it basically, you can go look at the Minnesota tournament, Texas tournaments. You can look at a lot of our stuff that we've had going on, how much money we've donated, things like that. So those are really the places that we probably do the most and get as much out there as we can.
That's cool. Speaking of, former Vikings players and about the Vikings, of course, that I was going to ask you a little bit about the Vikings before you got out of here.
Right.
We need to talk about them because I am a big fan. We live right here on the border of Wisconsin, but I still am a Purple fan. Matter of fact, when I got to know Brian, he was gracious enough to invite us to a game last year. And the seats weren't too shabby. When we got there, we were in the family section, and I pretty much had a really close-up view of the cheerleaders. My wife kept putting my blinders on.
You better watch it. Nicole's gonna come through that door. She's gonna smack you.
I ain't gonna let her watch his first podcast, but I was texting my buddy Tim Schneider, who films a little bit for us. He was up on the top deck, and I was sending him close-ups of the cheerleaders, which he could see through binoculars, but it wasn't quite the view I had. But no, it was so incredible to be in that environment, in that stadium. My first time ever being in the new stadium, and just the energy that is created there and the enthusiasm. I know this last year was kind of a fresh start with the new stadium and everything, but talk about a little bit about that and about the Vikings. You've been there since 2007?
2007, yep.
To 17.
Going on 12 years.
And we can tell everybody this is another comeback year. You talked about retirement last year.
Yeah, I did.
I heard you announced and let me know the other day that he's coming back for another season. He didn't say it in that way. He said, "Get the tree stands ready. I'm coming back."
I did say that. Yeah. Just the energy, and we talked about this earlier, just the energy of the fan base has been unreal this year. I've been in the NFC Championship before in 2009, and the thing that I look at different from the second year or the first year coming off of that was the energy of the fan base was just so much different. It wasn't that people weren't excited after 2009, but it just seems like right now the Minnesota Vikings are kind of what the buzz is about. And you go into free agency, you get a big signing with the quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Then you turn around and you open your new facility, the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. And let me tell you something right now. That place is unreal. I'll be honest with you. Looking at that place, we have no excuses now. So if we lose, it's not because the owners, Ziggy and Mark, didn't put forth every possible thing that we needed.
Right.
From nutrition to weight room to fields to meeting rooms. This place is, by far the best facility I've ever been in.
Everybody that lives in Minnesota, even outside of Minnesota, that is a Minnesota Vikings fan, are excited. We travel all over the country, and before you never seen anybody really wearing Minnesota Vikings apparel or jerseys or hats, whatever. But now you go out of state and people are fans, and that's what you guys have created. And my hat's off to you. I know one thing I'm excited about this year, especially since you're coming back, and it's just going to be a fun year. What do you think about your new quarterback?
I like him, man. He's a great guy off the field, and on the field, he is such a competitor. Every day that we're out in practice, he makes a throw, and everybody on the field is going to know about it because he is screaming, he's yelling, he's jacked up, he's fired up, and you would think it's game day. But it's practice. It's an OTA practice. You're not supposed to get all jacked up like that. Well, he does. And that's what I like about it is he's a competitor, whether it's practice, whether it's, going in and just having fun with the guys. I mean, he just competes at everything he does.
And he's a leader.
And he's a leader. He's a very good leader. I mean, he's gotten with those guys since early on. Obviously I wasn't here at the beginning, but I heard that he was out there throwing every day with the receivers, taking time outside what was the norm for us and going and throwing with the guys on the indoor facility, going outside and making guys run routes and throwing to them and kind of building that camaraderie with guys. And that's what you got to like.
Yeah, building that relationship. That's one thing I think, looking from the outside in, I mean, that's what you bring, your leadership, and you've been there. People, those younger players look up to you, and you've been instrumental. I think that's what you bring to that team is that rock, that you're the pivotal cornerstone on that defense, and just a leader that's just been there, went through a lot of different scenarios and stuff like that. That's cool. We wish you the best of luck this year. With the Minnesota Vikings. We'll all be watching, and I'll be just counting down the days of like, okay, day off day.
No doubt.
Here comes a text from Brian. What's the win going to be?
We're
going to
absolutely
be in the stand. That's going to be fun. As we're on that subject, let's talk a little bit about bow hunting because, as we got to know each other, you said, man, I want to get back into bow hunting. You can talk a little bit about your hunting background and how you got started with your dad, but, let's talk a little bit about, your impressions and getting started into bow hunting and what you've learned in just a short period of time and what you can help the viewers understand and the people that are listening, if they're thinking about doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, growing up, we did a lot of rifle hunting. Down in Texas, a lot of people outside of Texas say we cheat because we have our blinds that sit up and we sit off and we got a feeder out there and we shoot the deer underneath the feeder. Well, that's how I grew up hunting. And we did everything with a rifle, and man, it was just always a blast to go out there. Even like you said earlier, even when we didn't kill deer, I mean, it was just fun to be at the camp. It was fun to, sit around the fire and do things like that. But that's kind of how I grew up, is just rifle hunting. And so actually, the first time I ever truly bow hunt, I've shot a bow since I was young. My dad got me a bow when I was young, and I used to shoot it all the time. And the first time I've actually ever bow hunted was with you. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. So that's what I'm saying. We'll kind of share that moment forever. But that was the first time I went bow hunting, and I mean, man, it was just cool to see the deer, how close they get to you. And even though we were kind of in a blind, we wasn't in a tree stand or nothing like that, but it was just still so cool, so surreal to just sit there and see these deer. And I've always had a respect for the outdoors and the animals that live in it. And man, just seeing them in their element and just kind of
I remember
around.
that.
Yeah.
I remember that first moment, actually thinking back to last year where we're sitting there and, it's just starting to get late in the evening and we knew that the deer were going to start moving. And all of a sudden I was sitting actually to the left of you, and I'm like, here comes a deer. And you're like, where? And you're kind of looking out like, further out.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like right in front of you. You're like, oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, it did.
Skin.
It caught me by surprise because, normally when I grew up younger, them deer were 150 yards out. So same thing. I'm looking and I'm like, where's this deer? And I kind of look down and I'm like, oh, it's right there. Can I move? Like, am I allowed to move? Like, I didn't know what to do, but man, it was just so much fun. And, being able to have that Matthews bow in my hand and really being able to, kind of we came out here and we were able to shoot at the target and stuff like that. I thought I was ready. And then found out very quickly that I wasn't quite ready.
Hey, that happens. That's part of the learning curve, with bow hunting. But, and you're going to mature you weren't a great football player when you first started playing football. I mean, it takes time to develop into,
Absolutely.
A good archer. But that's the cool thing about it. I mean, nowadays, kids are brought into it at a young age. I mean, they have archery in the schools programs now, which they never had back when we grew up, that kind of taught them, proper form and stuff like that.
Right.
And just got them out there having fun shooting archery, which is, part of it. But thinking back, we get a lot of questions when we go to these shows and stuff. How do I get my kid involved in archery, and how do I get started? I mean, you can start, any time in your life. Case in point, you just started this last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start when we had a lady come up and tell Nicole that she was like in her mid 70s, and just by watching Nicole on film, she started archery hunting then. So,
wow.
You can do it at any age. It's great to get the kids started when they're young. The thing that we recommend is, if you're going to get started, the best thing to do is just go to an actual archery shop and talk to them. Let them kind of, get you outfitted and get you set up in the right manner, because they can get you into that right bow, and, there's a lot of different bows out there. I mean, and, without bashing any of it, they all make great products for sure. Yeah. We've been shooting Matthews forever, never shot another one. So that's how we know. I know Matthews has a Mission line that's a little bit more affordable, but a Mission line also has a lot of bows for the younger generation. My son's been shooting a Mission Craze, and that's been a wonderful bow. And that bow adjusts as he grows. The draw length, the weight, and everything. So he doesn't just shoot it for a year or two and then have to, go to a different bow. He can just keep adjusting that thing, and it's just been a great bow for him. So, that's a great bow to start with. But just go to a dealer and let them kind of show you everything from A to Z. This is what you need to get started and stuff like that. They'll take you in their range and shoot. We have archery headquarters over here that handles our stuff in Rochester. Marty does a wonderful job. We go to Shields. My daughter's now the manager in the bowhunting department. Can you believe that?
Oh my goodness.
My little girl.
Wow.
Now Olivia, she has grown up. She's 22 years old, and she is managing the archery department for Shields in Rochester, sir. So I'm feeling old. Everybody's like, where's Olivia? I'm like, man, she's off doing bigger and better things.
She's actually working now, Pat.
and they're proud. They said she's doing a wonderful job, but she is so excited because she tells me about, man, I helped this guy get, started in bow hunting, and it's kind of a cool aspect.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
But yeah, it's just, I like bow hunting because, again, like you said, it's kind of that closeness that you get, Not saying anything bad about gun hunting, because we're gun hunters too, right. And that's how we grew up. It was tradition. It still is in Minnesota. Everybody gets together, have a big, kind of get together and go out on a party hunting situation and have a weekend of it. And we still do that. And we need to do that more, bring everybody together. And that's fun too. But the bow hunting is more of a one-on-one, more quiet, you're observing nature.
It's different. It's more challenging to me.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with rifle hunting. I love rifle hunting. I mean, that's what I grew up doing. But that was the one thing that I learned, is it is much more challenging. I mean, because you've got to get the deer in the right place. You've got to have the right angle at the shot. And the other thing that I found out is how technical shooting a bow is. And it's funny I say that, because I should know that. Being a shot putter and playing football, your technique and how technical your technique is in a ring, and how many different spots you got to hit in the ring and throwing a shot put and stuff like that. It was the same thing as shooting a bow. I mean, you gotta get the arrow in there. You gotta pull it back, and you gotta make sure that you don't hit anything in it, because that was the other problem I had, is making sure I didn't, put my elbow through the window or something.
I'm not used to having a 6'4" man in the blind with me. Usually Nicole's 5'4". She's a good 12 inches shorter.
But it's just one of those deals that one little thing you do wrong can make you miss a shot or not. And the thing we found out with me last year, it took 2 hunts to figure it out, but was that I kept wanting to look at the arrow when I released it and
see where it hit.
And it was funny, we didn't actually realize that until we looked at the footage the second time around. And it was like, why do I keep missing to the right? And after the second time that I had shot,
we're kind of telling a little bit of the backstory.
Kind of telling a little bit of the backstory. I mean, I'm not afraid to tell. Yeah, I missed twice last year. What are you going to do about it? Anyway, but we, I shot, and when I'd shoot, I try to look and see where the arrow went, rather than just letting it follow through. And it was funny because when I come out here and shoot the target, I'm like, it's on. Like I'm good.
Oh yeah,
we're ready to go.
Yeah,
nailing it.
He was just like putting them right in there.
And then as soon as I go to shoot a deer, no, I want to see where that's going. And yeah, all I know is next year, or this year, I should say, when I release that bow, I'm just letting it go.
Yeah, he's going to follow through. I said, Brian, last year I said, you need to stick with the football thing. Let me do the hunting, and we'll be fine. So he's like, man, he said, there's nothing to this stuff. After he shot the target, and then we went out there, and it was crazy.
It was.
Hey, that's all part of it. That's why we do it. And this year going to be totally different.
Yeah, this year I'm probably going to have the biggest buck on the Driven Ranch. So,
well, time will tell. We got some awesome deer coming up. Right now, we just got our food plots all in. We planted corn, beans. We planted alfalfa, and we're going to be, now waiting another month here to plant our fall stuff. Our brassicas. Going to be planting a lot of evolved shot plot and stuff like that. We're just waiting for a good rainfall, kill the weeds off, and get that fall stuff coming in. And it's going to be an awesome year.
Well, my question is, do you think there's some way that we can get a snowmaker in October?
We need
down here and just start shooting snow, like get one of the big Buck Hill snowmakers that they get to get their ski slopes going. Just go shoot that on a field or something like that.
Yeah, that would. You know what? You might be onto something.
Hey, I'm just saying.
That might get the deer moving.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to affect the weather too much, but
it never fails. You just can never get the conditions perfectly right at the right time, I should say. It seems like when the end of the season kind of stops, that's when the conditions get right. But
right.
We're going to stay after it. We're gonna have fun this year. It's going to be an insane year. We got a lot of deer that we passed up last year that I'm excited about this year. So
yeah, I passed up on all mine.
Brian, there's a really nice deer here on our home farm that's got some non-typical stuff growing. Yeah. He's like, put that one's the one I want. So he's already laid claim to that one.
I mean, you're
gonna have to fight Nicole for that one.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, I don't like to show off money, but how much is that deer going to cost me, Pat?
Maybe part of your contract for this year. We'll see. But anyways, I think I pretty much cover everything. I got to put on these darn glasses because it is that age thing kind of creeping in on me. But let's just wrap this thing up. Give me a little bit of your predictions on this next year for the Vikings, and then what's next for Brian Robison.
So you're going to put me on the spot that way. Well, I don't think I would be a good what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think I would be a good Minnesota Viking if I expected anything less than a Super Bowl.
Oh, whoa.
And I hate predictions because it's almost like you're throwing it out there and you're saying, hey, right, this is what we're going to do. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think this team is fully capable of winning a Super Bowl. Now, whether we do it or not, that's on us. Because at the end of the day, you can talk about it all you want, but if you don't go out and do it on Sundays, then it doesn't matter. And so that's what I'll say is I think this team is capable of winning a lot of games and getting to the Super Bowl. But the fact of the matter is we have to go out there and play like we can do that. As far as what's next for me, I'm not really sure what's next to me. I've got a lot next for me, but I've got a lot of things that I think I've got in the works right now. I think for me, I love fishing. We know this, but we discussed it 100 times. But I think for me is my ultimate goal would be to do some stuff in the fishing business, whether that be shooting a TV show, whether that be doing some commentating, different things like that. That's what I would like to do because that gives me more time to be with my family. It also allows me to stay in the industry that I have a passion for and still be able to keep myself busy. Now I have other options too of going out and being a tournament fisherman, professional fisherman, whether that be with FLW, whether that be fishing some bass opens, things like that. I don't know. We'll cross that road when we get there, but that's what I would like to do is I'd like to be in the outdoor business of some sort, and I'd like to, really keep myself in the fishing industry because that is such a passion of mine. And plus it'll give me a lot more time to go hunting with Pat and Nicole.
Yeah. Hey, we welcome it. You know what? You have an open invite. And, Nicole and I want to wish you the best on this season for the with the Vikings, and also in your future endeavors, in the fishing side of things. And if you ever have any interest in joining the hunting side professionally, you can always join the Driven team.
You know what? I'll leave that to you, Pat. I'll just come along when you need some moral support and you need an extra arrow.
Well, now that I know you can bench press that much, I think I need somebody to help drag and carry these sheep out of the mountains when I finally shoot one.
You know what? That's what you have a Polaris for, right?
Yeah, well, good point. But anyways, we appreciate, Brian, you joining us. Tell Jamie hi for us, and we'll be watching on the big screen for you. Good luck this season.
Thank you very much.